While this was always said to be a man's world, it's almost flipped around on its head now, and men have been reviled, belittled, made to feel like they're not significant or relevant even.
You mentioned leadership, though, and obviously a huge part of any successful franchise, not that I would know, would be leadership. And you that's kind of one of the things you've kind of moved into now. You've really been talking to men about their lives, how they've been able to improve their lives, and really, I think leadership's a big part of that, is it not?
Oh, very much so. And that's, for me personally, looking at the landscape of our culture and what we deal with, that, men as husbands, as fathers, as leaders in the community have sometimes been emasculated or feminized to the point that we're not stepping into the roles that men have traditionally filled. And years ago, I read a book where it was from a gentleman named Dallas Willard called The Divine Conspiracy, where he had a subtitle quote. It says, "You can't change character or behavior and leave your belief intact." And of that, it's about the aspect of identity, who we are as men. So that's where I've done a lot of different things. I've written books to that regard. I've started a men's ministry in that regard. Anything that I can do utilizing my platform to motivate, to entice, to edify men to step up in that role, to be the husband, to be the father that in this country we need men to fill.
It's really so important because while this was always said to be a man's world, it's almost flipped around on its head now, and men have been reviled, belittled, made to feel like they're not significant or relevant even, and kind of pushed to the background, doesn't it? It feels that way, at least certainly to me. And so, what a great cause to help build that up, because if we don't fix that, I think society's in for a really tough time.
I wholeheartedly agree. It's become a zero-sum game with identity politics that for me to win, you have to lose. Mm-hmm. And the aspect of compromise, whether that be politically, whether that be, culturally, legally, we're headed for a precipice that hopefully we have to be able to right the ship sooner than later.
Well, we're told that there's no difference between men and women, that they don't do different things, that they aren't good at certain things. Do you believe that, that traditional role of the family, the nuclear family, that belief that we've had kind of for a really long time, is that necessary in today's world?
I don't think you can overstate that enough. I think from every study that has ever been done from either a psychological or sociological platform, the keys to success of living what we would all traditionally classify as a successful life is get a high school education, get your education, don't have children out of wedlock, and marry. And that is the stability, a foundation for any family or any cultural element or entity.
Yeah, you really see that reflected in the stats too. I mean, everyone talks about this, 50% divorce rate, which is a terribly scary sort of statistic. But when you add the elements you're talking about when you talk about don't have kids before wedlock, do things in the right order, go through an educational process, have a job. You knock those things out and the rate drops through the floor. It's really not a problem with divorce in general. It's a problem with not doing the basic building blocks of a relationship.
Amen to that.
Yeah, and you found that as well?
Oh, all the time. Yeah. And I see that with, particularly with millennials and young men and people coming up this next generation, Z, whatnot, that from the sole aspect of cultural moral relativity, that you define truth as how you want it to be based upon your own experience and perception, that we've come to this aspect, just to quote another quote, Jonathan Haidt wrote a book called The Righteous Mind, where good people differ between politics and religion.
We're very familiar with it, yes.
Well aware of Jonathan Haidt.
But when you look at that, the sociologist that he quoted, Emil Durkheim, his study in there where he studied cultures and communities and where there wasn't a common moral foundation, two things, decrease in happiness and an increase in suicide. And you just make that aspect correlation between millennials today, the #2 cause of leading cause of death in millennials is suicide, because they don't know who they are, they don't know who they're supposed to be. And that's one of the things why motivates me as a man is to pull alongside a young man and say, son, this is what it means to be a success in life. This is how you walk through that. This is the value system. This is the vision that you need to have for your life to be a success. And it's, you know, and if you can motivate, multiply myself, you guys, to go out and to just do that, just one guy, and then have that one young man, okay, now you go find your guy and pass on that, we can turn the ship very rapidly, in my opinion.
I hope, you know, I will say I spend so much of my day here in pessimism land, where it feels like the news of the day just beats you down so much, and it never seems like anything can ever be done about anything. And I think maybe that's the right place to focus. Instead of worrying about trying to get certain people elected or worried about trying to, you know, turn around these massive things, if we just focus on ourselves, these small things in our own family, in our own lives, in our own circles, is that the way to improve it?
You know, keep the main thing the main thing. And I'm right there with you, but a lot of times perception is not reality. And when you do go out and have conversations with individuals from multiple either backgrounds, race, economic status, they all want the same things. They want, you know, their family, they want their kids to get educated, you know, take care of, they want jobs, they want, you know, the basic necessities of life.
Yeah.
And it's not what the media is pushing.
So where should people go to get the books?
You can go to my website, chadhennings.com, or you can go, the last book I wrote was called Forces of Character, where I just had conversations with 10 people that impacted my life on their character journeys. Roger Staubach, Troy Aikman, Jason Garrett,
Any Eagles?
Greg Popovich. Well, I'll work on that for you.